Good morning, Congressman Michael Guest. Good morning, Congressman. How are you?
Good morning, gentlemen. Great. I hope y'all are having a great day.
Well, we're sitting around here. Our judge brought in a biscuit and sausage earlier this morning, so we've had our feed. We're sat down and we're serious. We're kind of like Washington now. We're full and we're ready to get to work. Is that the way it works up there?
Well, I wish. Nobody brought me breakfast this morning, Ted, so I had to take care of myself. Just a cup of coffee and a granola bar to get me going. But life is good. I'm up here kind of like y'all. I've got one eye on the Gulf, watching what's going on. I've had the Weather Channel on for the last 24 hours, kind of monitoring the storm that will soon be in the Gulf. And I'm glad to see right now as the track continues to progress further east, it looks like Mississippi, particularly South Mississippi, will be spared. But we'll continue to monitor that, and our prayers will be with our friends in Florida, as it looks like they're going to bear the brunt of that storm.
You know, Congressman, before we get into the meat of the program right here, we have Congressman Ezell, your good friend, and our good friend as well on the air. And, after talking to him, we get a little insight. The life of a congressman is not that excited. You don't live in a colonial mansion up there in Washington, D.C. and have drivers pick you up for work every day, do you?
No, I don't. When I tell people that I live in a one-bedroom apartment, and my apartment is my bedroom's just big enough for my queen-size bed, and pay almost as much for that small basement apartment as I do for my house payment in Mississippi, people are very shocked and surprised. And, and the thing about the job that makes it especially difficult on all the members is the travel. I didn't get home this weekend until roughly 6:30 Friday night. Was back on a plane 6 a.m. Monday morning, returning back to Washington, D.C. And so the weeks that we're in session, which are generally 3 out of every 4 weeks, a lot of travel, a lot of time away from our family, and it makes it very difficult. And when we're up here, we're working long days. Days start at roughly 8 a.m., end at 8 to 9 p.m., and we're constantly in meetings and hearings and going to the floor for votes. And so people sometimes think this is a very glamorous lifestyle, that we're up here and people are whining and dining us, and we've got people who are catering to our every need, but in actuality, it is really the complete opposite. A lot of work goes on up here. We're very busy. We're away from our families, and so that's when fly-out days come. All members, including myself, we're glad to be able to get back home, get back in the district to the people that sent us up here to serve them.
And quite often when you get home, you're going to a function back in Mississippi, too, so it's hard to have just a few hours with your family, I'm sure. But
it is. I try to carve out Sundays and as much as possible Saturdays. Sundays, where my family's routinely in church, so we're in church on Sunday mornings, but I try to make sure that, if at all possible, I preserve Sunday afternoons, Sunday evenings, and then try to also do what I can to save Saturday afternoons. And so that gives me a chance to spend some time with my family. But during the week, when we're home, you're exactly right. We're extremely busy. My district covers all or part of 23 counties. I think Sheriff Ezell's district is a little bit small. I think he has roughly a dozen counties in his district. But I've got 23 counties that when I'm home, I try to be in as many of those counties as I can, meeting with elected officials, business leaders, community leaders, making sure that I understand the needs of specific parts of my district, because the needs of the city of Jackson are going to be far different than the needs of, say, the people that live in Noxubee County. And so one very rural area that is very ag-heavy, the other, the Metro Jackson, which is extremely urban area. And so those are the things that we're doing when we're home. We're not home just showing up at the office, drinking a cup of coffee, and then leaving in the middle of the afternoon. Our days at home are often very long as well, because sometimes, we're having to travel, at least I'm having to travel 2+ hours to get from one side of my district to the other. And so that makes long days up here and also long days back at home.
Wow. Congressman, I know there's something that you're proud of in the process. Committee on Homeland Security passes your PATHS Act. Could you bring us up to date on that?
Yeah, thank you for mentioning it. So we were on the floor with this bill yesterday. We had a series of Homeland Security bills on the floor. This was legislation that I introduced along with a congressman from the state of Maryland by the name of Glenn Ivey. And it reauthorizes a program that has been very successful in the Department of Homeland Security world. And the PATH Act, that stands for Producing Advanced Technologies for Homeland Security Act. You know, everything up here has to have an acronym, and so that's what that stands for. But what it allows, Ted, is it allows the Department of Homeland Security to enter into contractual agreements with small businesses and public universities that would not normally qualify to enter into a government contract. And so as we're looking at Homeland Security to be leaner, to be meaner, to be more efficient, to be able to operate, particularly in the technology sector, and make transition much quicker, this bill allows that to happen. It allows them to enter into those OTAs or other transaction agreements. And one of the things when I was advocating that this bill be reauthorized was there was a contract that was entered into by the Department of Homeland Security with the University of Southern Mississippi. It was roughly a $6.8 million contract between Southern and a couple of other of our educational institutions that would design and integrate sensor technologies for unmanned maritime vehicles. Those vehicles used by both the Department of Homeland Security and the Coast Guard. And so this is a program that has been successful, that has worked. It has allowed the Department of Homeland Security to be on the cutting edge of some of the technology that they use. And it benefits local businesses and universities like the University of Southern Mississippi. So I was glad to be able to get this bill on the floor. And also proud to say that this bill passed out of the House unanimously. So now this bill goes to the Senate. If we can get this bill passed out of the Senate between now and the end of the year, it will go to the President's desk, and it will extend a very crucial program for the Department of Homeland Security in the technology field or technology sector.
Well, Judge Zachary Vaughn, you can understand that, can't you?
That sounds like a good bit of legislation, Congressman. So, but I am impressed.
Well,
you said it went out unanimously, and that's great. That's great that Washington was able to agree on something.
That's right. And, and often, the things that we're able to agree on, those aren't the things that are reported in the news cycle. Or the news cycle, particularly the national news cycle, focuses on the things that we're unable to reach agreement on. But there are pieces of legislation like that that are bipartisan in nature, that at times will pass one chamber or the other unanimously or with almost unanimous support. That they're beneficial to either an individual agency or department, or sometimes just beneficial to the government as a whole. And so glad to say that this is something that we were a part of, and I do hope that it passes the Senate and is signed by the President, because I do think that it has a positive impact, and it helps, again, the Department of Homeland Security as they perform a very vital mission.
I didn't realize I do a lot of this veteran work, and I have friends from all branches of services. We operate in our veterans organization. During peacetime, the Coast Guard comes under Homeland Security, and so that's a very important committee.
It is. If you look at the agencies that fall under Homeland Security, you think of Border Patrol and Customs and Immigration, those agencies, but you also have the Secret Service falls under Homeland Security, and we know some of the challenges the Secret Service is facing right now. Coast Guard, FEMA, all of those agencies fall under the umbrella of the Department of Homeland Security. So it is a very large agency, but it performs an important purpose. And we know that the Homeland Security Department and the committees here in Congress were both created after the attacks on the U.S. in 9/11. With the intent so that these agencies can share resources, and to share intelligence, because a lot of our intelligence gathering was siloed in individual agencies. So what the FBI might know, the Secret Service may not know, Customs may not know, and so the intent was so that these agencies, again, could share resources, could share intelligence, and so that we would not have another attack on our nation like we had on 9/11. And so far that's been successful. So far we've had successes in preventing a major terrorist attack, but we still must continue to be on guard. We can never assume that there aren't individuals, particularly abroad, terrorist organizations who want to cause harm to America. And so that is why the Department of Homeland Security is so important, and the oversight that Congress provides is crucial to make sure that the agency is performing at a high quality or caliber that they can.
Zach and Judge and Congressman, let me throw a bone out here to you. Yesterday, Dan Bongino, he's on our radio station, one of the top talk show hosts anywhere in the world, threw out a bone yesterday and said that he feels like there's a mole in the Secret Service. Have you heard that?
I have not heard that. I'll tell you that my view of the Secret Service is that the problems that are going on at the Secret Service, I don't believe that they are a funding problem. I believe it is a leadership problem and an allocation of resources. And so as people say, well, we need to give the Secret Service additional money so that they can protect President Trump. Well, the Secret Service was given an additional $265 million this year because it was a presidential year, and we knew that there needed to be additional funds so that they could staff up to deal with protecting dignitaries, particularly the president, the vice president, and Donald Trump, and J.D. Vance, his vice presidential pick. But we've seen that the agency, even with the influx of that $265 million, that they failed now on two occasions within roughly about a 2-month period to protect Donald Trump from would-be assassins. And so as we look at what's going on with the Secret Service, again, I don't believe, because I've looked at the budget, I'm on both the authorizing and the appropriation side of Homeland Security. I believe that Homeland Security has the dollars that they need. They've been authorized or appropriated the money that they need, but it's an allocation problem. They're not allocating their resources in the proper place. And so Congress is continuing the investigation into both the assassination attempt there at Butler, Pennsylvania, and I think that I had the chance to visit with y'all on that a couple months ago about my experience when I actually went to Butler, Pennsylvania with members of the Homeland Security Committee and got to be on the ground and see firsthand the multiple failures by the Secret Service that day. But we also know that just 2 weeks ago, there was a would-be assassin that attempted to kill Donald Trump as he was playing golf in Florida. And so this agency, which has historically been one of the premier law enforcement agencies in our country, that agency really needs to be overhauled. And whether that overhaul includes taking them out from under the Department of Homeland Security, putting them under another agency, but this is not a lack of resources by the department, it's a lack of leadership.
Well, Congressman, the music coming up behind us tells us it's over with. Thank you very much. Judge and Charles, I'll tell the Congressman bye.
Always good to hear from you, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.